Good morning. I am Melissa Ensign Bedford, a member of our Board of Trustees, and I am glad to welcome you to our Sunday service this morning at the UU Church of Columbia. We are a congregation striving to embody courageous love, radical welcome, and deep connection. And we are so glad you are here. Bringing all that you are and all that you love and your deepest commitments to a more just world for all. Welcome. We are glad to be offering a live stream of our services, and we would like to extend an additional welcome to those of you joining online. We strive to make our worship accessible, and those of you at home or using screen readers in person can find an accessible order of service at our homepage, uuccomo.org. If you're on Zoom, we also have an automated captioning turn-on. For those of you with us in person, we invite you to attend carefully to the safety of all by leaving plenty of space, wearing your masks, and ensuring you are greeting one another in a way that is comfortable to both parties. We will not be singing hymns together as an entire congregation, though humming is allowed. We'd like to particularly welcome any visitors among us this morning and invite you to find our guest book after the service in the entry. If you did not already, or in the chat if you're with us online. We'd love to stay in touch with you about our ongoings. Children and babies are always welcome in worship, and we also have a lively children's religious education program and nursery care for our youngest one. All nursery caregivers and RE teachers are masked and vaccinated. This week, we are worshiping together as one multi-generational community. Childcare is available in the nursery for those who need or prefer it, and our regular Sunday school classes resume next week. If you have a joy or sorrow you'd like spoken aloud during the service, you can write them on a yellow slip by the piano to be included in our time of prayer. Or if you're online, please include your joys and sorrows in the chat now so that they can be relayed to Reverend Molly for our time of prayer. We'd like to thank our very special guest musicians, the January Lanterns, for their musical offerings this morning, and we invite you to settle into this time and space with the help of our musicians.
Spirit of life who draws us together in a web of holy relationships. Make your presence known within us and among us. Remind us that we are not alone in history. Ignite us with the courage of a living tradition. Remind us that we are not alone in entering the future, but anchor us with patience and perseverance. We remember that we are not alone in our times of grief and pain, but comforted by human hands and voices. We remember that we are not alone in joy and wonder, but inspired to honor and extend the beauty we find in this world. Divine music of the universe, let our hearts beat in diverse and harmonious rhythm, cooperating with an everlasting dance of love. This morning and each day, may we move with the rhythms of peace. May we move with the rhythms of compassion, with the rhythms of justice. And may our hearts be opened to all of our neighbors. May our souls be opened to the renewal of faith and curiosity. May our hands be opened and joined together in all the work that awaits us. And we now light our chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith in the community that holds us and the bright flame of the human spirit that unites us. I invite you, as you are moved, to join me in our weekly words of affirmation printed in our order of service. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Good morning. Bear with me if I get a little loopy in this service. We had a wonderful Valentine's Day dance last night, followed by a youth lock-in, so I have been here for a while. So I wanted to start this morning with a story. This is actually the first Sunday after the pandemic began and we went to virtual church. This is the story we read, and it's been a story that has sustained me during our time when we were apart, and it continues to sustain me in our time together. So it's called The Invisible String by Patrice Karst. And it's dedicated to the children of the world and the magic of their strings. Liza and Jeremy, the twins, were asleep one calm and quiet night. Suddenly, it began to rain very hard. Thunder rumbled until it got so loud that it woke them up. "Mommy, Mommy," they cried as they ran to her. "Don't worry, you two. It's just the storm making all that noise. Go back to bed." "We want to stay close to you," said Jeremy. "We're scared." Mom said, "You know we're always together, no matter what." "But how can we be together when you're out here and we're in bed?" Mom held something right in front of them and said, "This is how." Rubbing their sleepy eyes, the twins came closer to see what Mom was holding. I was about your age when my mom first told me about the invisible string. "I don't see a string," said Jeremy. "You don't need to see the invisible string. People who love each other are always connected by a very special string made of love. But if you can't see it, how do you know it's there?" asked Liza. "Even though you can't see it with your eyes, you can feel it with your heart, and you know that you are always connected to everyone you love. When you're at school and you miss me, your love travels all the way along the string until I feel a tug on my heart. And when you tug it right back, we feel it in our hearts, said Jeremy. Does Jasper the cat have an invisible string? Liza asked. She sure does, said Mom. And best friends like me and Lucy? Best friends too. How far can the string reach? Anywhere and everywhere, Mom said. Would it reach me even if I were a submarine captain deep in the ocean? Asked Jeremy. Yes, Mom said, even there. Or a mountain climber? Even there. A ballerina in France? Even there. A jungle explorer? Even there. How about an astronaut out in space? Yes, even there. Then Jeremy quietly asked, can my string reach all the way to Uncle Brian in heaven? Yes, even there. Does the string go away when you're mad at us? Never, said Mom. Love is stronger than anger, and as long as love is in your heart, the string will always be there. Even when you get older and can't agree about things like what movie to see or who gets to ride in the front seat or what time to go to bed. Oh, that's right, you two should be in bed. And with that, they all laughed as Mom chased the twins back to their bed. Within a few minutes, they were asleep, even though the storm was still making the same loud noises outside. As they slept, they started dreaming of all the invisible strings they have, and all the strings their friends have, and their friends have, and their friends have, until everyone in the world was connected by invisible strings. And from deep inside, they now could clearly see no one is ever alone. So for our centering today, I want us to think about these strings. And I want to tell you something that I think is a little magical about this space here, our sanctuary. I think that strings grow here in a special way. So there was one time I remember I was sitting right there, and I looked out across the room to a face I had never seen before. It was a kind face with a wonderful smile, and our eyes met, and I instantly felt that string straight from my heart to theirs. And it turned out later when we met, it was the beloved Reverend Dottie, who some of you know. But this place is special in that way, that your strings can grow really quickly and deeply. And that's what we're trying to do here. So as we sit for our centering, I want you to try to feel for that magic, the possibility of new and ever-expanding love. So breathe in and feel an awareness of your heart. Feel its amazing strength, its ability to love and care so deeply. Just breathe with that for a minute. And now, as you breathe out, feel how that power doesn't just stay put, it pushes outward. And focus your attention on the way it pulls towards someone you love. Maybe a family member sitting beside you. Maybe a dear friend. And feel how it meets their love for you. How it forms this string, this connection. Feel its realness. so real you could almost touch it. And then breathe in again and see how there's still so much love inside of you. Who else can you reach out to in love? Someone here in this room, someone you already love, or maybe someone you will grow to love. And maybe there is someone not in the room with you. Maybe there's someone joining us online, someone far away. Feel how far your strings can reach. And try to imagine for each of the people you connect to with love, all the other connections, all the other strings they have, reaching out in 1,000 different directions. And each of those they connect to also reaching out in 1,000 different directions. 1,000 starbursts of love. And feel those strings crisscrossing all around you, surrounding you in infinite connections. Try to imagine them, to feel their presence all around you, each string glowing and vibrating with its invisible connection of love. We are a part of an interdependent web of existence. Let your love weave through that web.
The seventh principle of Unitarian Universalism is respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. Jamila has led us this morning in deeply feeling how much we are a part of that web. And that web is very strong. It is strong to hold all that is our lives, the beauty and terror, the joy and sorrow, the hopes and yearnings. And it is held by that web each week that we join in a ritual of sharing the joys and sorrows of our community. First, in an embodied prayer of stones and water, and then by speaking aloud those joys and sorrows shared by our congregation. So in a moment, I'm going to provide a moment of contemplative music by sharing a chant from our hymnal. And I invite those of you who wish to join in our weekly ritual of stones and water. For those of you tuning in at home, I hope you will join in a moment of quiet contemplation, imagining the burdens of your heart lifted and held by our community during that time of music. And for those of you with us in the room, you are welcome to come forward if you would like. Take a stone, hold it and infuse it with any hopes and fears that you bring with you this morning, and then drop it down into the water, which represents the embrace of our community, that interdependent web that strongly holds us. For those of you who wish to have your joy or sorrow spoken aloud, you may write it on a yellow slip at the table over to my left, your right, and put it in the basket, and we'll also receive joys and sorrows submitted online from our live stream team. And so I now invite you into this time of contemplation, and we'll be sharing a chant from our hymnal called "I Know This Rose Will Open." So please, if you wish to come forward. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this
rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
As we now prepare to speak aloud the joys and sorrows and prayers of our community, I invite you to take just a moment of silence to prepare your hearts to hold one another tenderly. When we share our joys and sorrows as a community, we invite those who wish to share in an embodied response. So for sorrows or concerns, we put our hands over our hearts. For joys or celebrations, we do spirit fingers and wiggle them around. And so let us start with a joy from Stacy, who shares that her friend who had a double lung transplant 2 weeks ago has been released from the hospital and is doing great. Let us join our hearts with Tonette in care in sharing healing thoughts for Dustin as he recovers from a surgery. Let us join our hearts in sending all our care and healing wishes to Greg Bergman, who's in the hospital for testing to figure out some blood levels. Greg asks for no phone calls but welcomes your good energy. We also wish Greg a very happy birthday yesterday, even though he had to spend it in the hospital. We join our hearts with Caden Enzyme, who shares that all of their immediate family in the same house, 6 of them, have come down with influenza A. They're particularly concerned about their mother and eldest nephew, and we send all our healing wishes. These things and all of the joys, sorrows, hopes, and prayers held tenderly in our hearts but not spoken aloud, let us lift up into the love that connects and sustains us. I conclude this time with words of prayer or contemplation as you are moved by Stephen Schick. Spirit of life, God of love, I am entwined in your delicate web of mutuality. The life energy that makes us reach for the sun also moves us to become wrapped like the strong bittersweet vine and the delicate sweet pea around all those we meet and love. Here in the tangle of our daily lives, may we feel the pulse of love and sense what it means to be alive. Here, twisted and knotted in the web, may we thrive, seeking the light that will pull from us the fragrant blossom of love. Spirit of life, help us to experience the beauty of this interwoven and intricate web, that we might always embrace without reserve all those whom our lives touch. Amen. And we'll now share another song from our wonderful musical guests.
Religious people love to use the expression, "you are loved," or "you are held in love." And someone once posed the question to me, when you say this, who do they imagine is doing the loving and the holding? And maybe we imagine it sometimes as an abstract, cosmic, divine love. But sometimes that's not enough. Central to Unitarian Universalism is that we have to be actively involved in creating love in the world in real and tangible ways. That we need to turn those invisible strings visible. Because it's not enough to say, you are loved, if you can't also say, I love you. And it's not enough to say you are held in love if you are not actively engaged in the work of creating the love that will do the holding. We are connected in an interdependent web of existence, but it is only through what we do that the web is woven with love. So, we have an activity for you now. I know that you live out your UU values through acts of caring and service, both large and small, every day. In our families, in our friendships, in this congregation, in your schools and workplaces and neighborhoods across the country and all over the world, our acts of caring and service make the spirit of love visible and tangible. In your bag, you have 2 hearts. So on your light pink heart, I want you to pull out your light pink heart. And I want you to write down, I'll let you get them out. Rustle, rustle, rustle. I want to invite you to write down something you do to care or be of service, something you've done in the last year or maybe even in the last week. If it's easier for you, you can draw a picture of how you care and serve. And we'll name some of the ways that we make love tangible. Here's some of the things that you maybe do. Maybe you help a loved one, or a friend, or a pet, or a member of this community in some way. You do some small act of caring, or something big even. It could be work you do to make a more fair and just world, from showing up at a school board meeting to speaking out against prejudice. There are 1,000 things you all do. It could be volunteering or acts of service to our community, making food for loaves and fishes, volunteering at Room at the Inn. It could be the ways you care for our earth, the choices you make about how we live on this earth to be more sustainable. And so you can write them down. If you're joining us online, you can share in the chat, and Reverend Molly will add them to a heart as well. And then when you have them written down, I invite you to come up and use those clothespins on your bag. We have invisible strings here coming from the pulpit. We have some over there. We have low ones in the back along the wall. There's one over by the shelves there. And just like in life, these strings can be delicate, so we'll hang them carefully. And if they're broken, we will repair them. And that, too, is an act of love that makes love visible in the world. So we'll hang our hearts as our musicians play for us.
I'm beginning to see the web. It's beginning to become visible. Jamila has led us through a beautiful reflection on all of the ways we are connected and how we make our web of connection visible through acts of love and care. It's wonderful to see these hearts hanging above our heads, reminding us of the shining thread that joins each to each. And then Jamila gave me the hard part, to tell you something very simple and very challenging about the web of life. So here it is. When we refuse to depend on each other, we tear the fabric of the web. When we organize our lives to not need anyone else, to be self-sufficient and self-contained, we are harming our corner of the web. An interdependent web of all life requires mutuality, which means sharing together. And a life where we give but never receive is not a life of mutuality. It is a life of hiding, of isolation, and ultimately of separation from the web. Because we believe in this web and its importance in our lives, one of the cornerstones of Unitarian Universalism is a deeply lived respect for our interdependence. And because of that, I would venture to say that Unitarian Universalism requires us to be needy sometimes. That is hard to say and harder for me to hear. Because, of course, our society is not built to honor the web. We are powerful when we are joined in true mutuality, and the systems around us are built to siphon the power of the collective away to a few. That's supremacy in a nutshell. Supremacy gains power by separating us from one another. And therefore, it teaches us to be ashamed of depending upon one another. It teaches us that we are weak to need each other, when in fact it is only by needing and acknowledging our need that we become most tightly woven into the strength of the web that binds us in power together. Through the hearts we've pinned on the web in the room, we've shared some of the stories of how we give to one another to support and uphold our connections. But I hope each of us also has many stories of how we have received, how someone has given us what we needed in a moment of shining interdependence, and how that has strengthened our connections to each other and our hold on the web of life. Perhaps in that moment of receiving, we felt suddenly able to trust the web more deeply, to lean back and let life hold us. And how profoundly have we experienced holy love in those moments of receiving. Love bigger than any act of care, love big enough to sustain us because we feel that people are there to hold us. Will you take a moment to recall such a time of receiving? I hope that your remembering is warm and cozy, but I'm guessing it also has an edge. Thinking about our needs brings up many experiences and memories all at once. Certainly, there have been many times when your needs have not been met. When you learned from someone not to lean too fully on that web of connection because someone failed to catch and hold you. Those experiences are real too. They linger and echo in our brainstems. And the systems that would divide us are happy to magnify that fear and tell us to not rely on anyone after all, to go it all alone. Those systems long to teach us that an instance of failure to have our needs met is representative of the whole web of life, that that web is thin and tenuous and unreliable. It is the work of faith to lean back again and again, to find a steady place, to depend on the web again, enough to relocate its strength. If we are not willing to try again to lean and depend upon that web that holds us, we will calcify into isolation and separation. It is true that the web of life makes us each vulnerable. But soft, tender flesh is what we have with which to experience the world. And it is the only way we can connect with that greater love. We need to need in order to feel ourselves held. Now, another thing I have found as a parent in a caring profession is a sense of confusion when I try to access my needs. Perhaps this resonates for some of you too. That someone asks you what you need and you find you have no idea. Having become alienated from your own need or longing in favor of a constant focus on those of others. It doesn't have to be parenting. There are so many ways we caregive and focus on the other. I realized at some point when my children were done nursing, but still very small and incredibly needy, that I wasn't even noticing when I was thirsty. And I was ending each day dehydrated, so unaware of the most basic requirements of life in my own body. That was a big moment that required a sharp turn inward. We cannot be in touch with our need if we are not in touch with ourselves. And we cannot live in bodies so untended that their most basic needs go unmet. It was my therapist, not me, who noticed this self-abnegation and its impact on my body. She taught me grounding meditation and body scans that help bring me back from that dangerous precipice of out-of-touchness with myself. My spouse started bringing me water when I sat down. My best friend checked in each day for a while about whether I had met the basic needs of a body. Had I eaten? Had I drunk water? Thank goodness for the circles of care that rise to hold us. I know when I'm thirsty now, and that's a good thing. If you have reached a point where you cannot even begin to discern what you need, I hope that you will reach out. To me as pastor, to mental health or health professionals, it is more important than ever, especially in this time of burnout, to lean on our web, even and especially if our instinct is to hide away. And then when we are at last able to access our need again, there's one more dynamic that bears mentioning. It is awfully discouraging to be in relationship with someone who never needs anything. More than discouraging, it can be disempowering, setting up a dynamic where one person is always beholden to a helper without a sense of mutual power or relationship. And perhaps this could inspire you to identify your needs, even though our culture would shame you for doing so. That it hurts others' sense of agency and efficacy if you never need them back. There can be no mutuality without need, and a world without mutuality is a world of supremacy. More than that, a world where we do not acknowledge our needs is a world of self-deception and perpetuated injustice because we are depending on each other whether we admit it or not. And when we don't admit it to ourselves and sink deeply into that truth, we are diminishing the work and very humanity of all those upon whose lives we depend. We need the sanitation workers who haul away our trash. And when we forget that or pretend that we don't have that need, we devalue their lives and perpetuate their abuse. There are a million similar examples. We must remember our dependence upon one another as a fact of our lives if we are ever to reach the world of mutual thriving we dream about. There's a beautiful reading in our hymnal by George Odell about all the times we need each other. I'm going to read it now, and I'm going to ask you to join me in the refrain, which is, "We need one another," so that together we can say it over and over and hopefully begin to work it into our bones. Will you practice with me now? We need one another. When we mourn and would be comforted, we need one another. When we are in trouble and afraid, we need one another. When we are in despair or temptation and need to be recalled to our best selves again, we need one another. When we would accomplish some great purpose and cannot do it alone, we need one another. In the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs, we need one another. In the hour of defeat, when with encouragement we might endure and stand again, we need one another. When we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey, we need one another. All our lives we are in need, and others are in need of us. Yeah, we do. We say it over and over again in this room that it is by community that we are saved. But community is not made real until we need each other, until we are each in need. Our need, your need, is beautiful. It is an invitation to others to be a part of your life. It is the pathway to salvation because it is the pathway to community. It is the road to revelation, to the discovery that there is a love holding us and all that we love, and that we can rest in that love. That we can lean on the strong web that connects us each to each, and that we only discover that when we are in need. So do not be ashamed of your need. Be in touch with it. Be in love with it. Share it as a gift of true mutuality, as a beautiful thing, the pearl of great price, that we might nurture each other and strengthen the web. And so now we have made the web partially visible by sharing all the good things we do to love the world, but we need to make the web the rest of the way visible by sharing how we need and depend and rely upon one another. So I'd like to invite you to find the dark pink heart in your bag. You may wish to write or draw a time when you were in need. That's the easiest way. I would challenge you, however, to sit for a moment, maybe scan your body, see if you can access the need that you have, and write down on your heart something you need right now. What do you need from your community? What do you need from this web? See the beauty of that need as it makes our connections visible. I'm going to sing as you write and draw and as you pin. A song from Rebecca Parker and Elizabeth Norton, "There is a Love Holding Us." And I invite you now to make your beautiful needs visible. Those of you online, Jamila will be writing down your needs and posting them this time around. And we have a request from online at the end for the camera to pan and show the web, and our live stream teams assures us we'll make that happen for our online participants. There is a love holding me. There is a love holding all that I love. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love.
There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. There is a love holding us. There is a love holding all that we love. There is a love holding all. We rest in this love. 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 The web is even more beautiful now, isn't it? Now is the time in our service when we join in the spiritual practice of generosity as one way that we care for each other and our community. As one way we depend upon one another. We need you and your financial gifts to make our shared life possible. And the need of our community is a beautiful way that we are connected. As a matter of fact, last week we shared the beginning of our annual generosity campaign when we ask folks to make their commitment for the upcoming fiscal year. I want to let you know that our wonderful stewards are focusing on connection this year, and they are going to begin reaching out to our members and friends this week to set up a time to reconnect with you. I want to encourage you to accept their invitation to talk with them, even if you have already pledged or can't pledge, because these conversations are their chance to check in about how you and your family are doing, about how you think we are doing together as we work toward our mission of courageous love. These are beautiful conversations, and I hope that you enjoy them. Now, in the spirit of sharing love and care, our offering for the work of our community will be given and received as we are blessed with one more beautiful song from the January Lanterns. Our ushers will move through the sanctuary for those who wish to give in the offering plate. Online and text giving options are available in the order of service, both in person and online. Thank you to our musicians.
And one moment real quick. Oh, we have one last little thing. The children made something in their service last Sunday that they want to give you, a token of both the invisible strings and visible love. So if any children want to help me pass these out, you can come up here and help me give them to everyone in the congregation.
Used to be the people in that picture we still are. Let's all live like we did that day. Let go.
Bring me closer, little closer. Oh, little more, little more.
Carried the load a time or two.
Would be if it wasn't real.
never knew love happened like that. I thought I loved you and I saw your mess. Don't try to pick it up, just be free. All our plans crumbled into the trash. I never knew love happened like that.
Before our closing words, I'd like to invite us to take a moment to thank our incredible guest musicians, the January Lanterns, for all of their musical offerings this morning. So beautiful. Thank you. Our closing words are from the Reverend Wayne Arneson. Take courage, friends. The way is often hard, the stakes are very high, and the path is never clear. Take courage, for deep down there is another truth. You are not alone. You are held by this web that is strong. It follows us wherever we go. So go in blessing and be a blessing to a world that needs our care. And I invite you, if you'd like to hum along or sing very softly along, because we're going to then leave our air particles behind, our benediction. Now on leaving one another, may we give of hand and heart. Let us share our benediction lovingly before we part. Go in peace. We love you. Happy Valentine's Day.